This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a light show projecting onto Launceston's Cataract Gorge will receive funding to go ahead under a re-elected Liberal government. But Labor is playing its own tourism trump card by announcing plans to keep the Mona Foma Festival in the state's north.
It's music to the ears of some Mona Foma fans. A promise to the tune of $8 million over 4 years to shift the festival to Launceston for good.
We know from what we've learnt in the south of the state that the $2 million leverages in excess of $50 million in activities.
The cutting-edge cultural event drew in more than 1,000 onesie-clad fans earlier this year.
We talk about being the heart of the visitor economy, and having a vibrant arts economy and a vibrant arts culture really expands that out from some of the other wonderful things we've got going on in the north.
The Liberals are singing from a different song sheet, signing off a 10-point plan to strengthen tourism, while promising to go halves with the Launceston City Council to bring a major light show to Cataract Gorge.
It will provide another reason for people to want to visit this remarkable place.
The nighttime exhibit is expected to cost $1.75 million and will use the gorge as its natural canvas. The community will be encouraged to submit their ideas for the display.
Extremely exciting to realise that we can utilise this asset, which already hundreds of thousands of people come here to support.
And hoping to save some extra votes, Labor is committing $500,000 for surf life-saving equipment if elected, with some of the money to go towards buying drones.
Drones could be handy for our offshore rescue groups as well, to find out where exactly a boat is, what their circumstances are.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanians have been inundated with election promises over the past 6 weeks, and tonight we take a look at some of the key issues. It's these final days where the political leaders will cement their pledge to the people, with the battle lines firmly drawn.
Tasmania's leaders have been from one end of the state to another. Labor first positioned health as its key priority, a $560 million pledge to employ up to 500 medical staff, with an immediate injection to help clear bed block.
They are worried about the health system.
The Liberal Party offering its $757 million commitment during its campaign launch.
If you change governments, you'll change the direction of our state.
The plan to deliver more than 1,300 staff over 6 years alongside 300 new beds. So have the parties delivered?
Key concerns in relation to capacity and additional inpatient beds has been addressed by the major political parties, but certainly there's also a commitment to look at certainly a workforce strategy into the future.
The trouble for the next government is how to attract the workers with pay negotiations due in coming months.
Potentially, with a 2% wage increase, they will be the worst paid in Australia.
It's the major issue for the public sector union, not happy with the current 2% wage cap policy.
It's going to become harder and harder to attract people to the state if they can't get decent jobs that have decent wages.
The Liberals are vowing not to change its policy. Labor is open to negotiations.
We want to sit down and bargain in good faith. We want everything on the table, not to have a predetermined outcome.
A bold move to scrap education fees at Labor's campaign launch has been welcome as a means to addressing equity, but questions remain.
This would level that particular playing field, but then there's the impact on the curriculum. What does that mean, and how much money would be available to actually cover that cost?
Labor, Liberals and the Greens are pledging to increase staffing numbers and move principals out of classrooms. The major difference between the two major parties will be the rollout of years 11 and 12, not continued under Labor.
How they are implemented and what happens next, that will be the key factors.
Road packages have been pledged at all ends of the state, but for the RACT,
what we're particularly looking at right now is the issue of congestion around Hobart.
The Liberals have outspent Labor on roads. For congestion, both are pledging new measures to encourage public transport, the Greens suggesting free transport for tertiary students. But some big-ticket items remain unresolved.
A replacement Bridgewater Bridge, for example, and additional infrastructure to support our traffic volumes around Hobart.
Tasmania's growing pains are at breaking point for housing. Both major parties are promising new affordable housing builds, the Liberals also making exceptions for stamp duty and land tax.
We're looking at some really quite achievable ideas around just making longer term leases in the private rental market, giving more security there.
Shelter Tasmania calling for a summit already agreed to by Labor.
And tonight, the two major political party leaders will test their policies at a special People's Forum in Hobart. We're joined now live by our state political reporter, Jacqueline Robson. Good evening, Jack. This is a different setup to some of the other leaders' debates.
That's right, Joe. It's really the last opportunity the leaders will get to sell those key election policies we just heard about. Labor leader Rebecca White and the Premier Will Hodgman will tonight have to convince a number of swing voters before a ballot is cast by the end of the night. Now, this could be a true representation or reflection of just how well they've prioritised those election commitments. And with a last pitch for tonight, there's also a last pitch in advertising. From midnight tonight, there will be no more television campaign advertising in the lead-up to Saturday's poll. Joe.
Yes, our screens will be free of political advertising, won't they? Thanks very much for that, Jack. Jacqueline Robson joining us there from Hobart. Police are investigating a stabbing near the Elizabeth College skate park this afternoon. Officers cordoned off a section of the footpath where drops of blood could be seen and were interviewing witnesses. It's understood 4 youths were involved in a fight and a weapon was produced. Police say one person received a superficial injury. The coroner has delivered findings into a Riverside murder-suicide, ruling the deaths couldn't have been reasonably avoided. Coroner McTaggart examined the 2013 deaths of 62-year-old John and Gillian Evans, saying Mr Evans was in a psychotic state when he killed himself and his wife at their Riverside home, and he wasn't capable of rational decision-making. Despite Mr Evans presenting to his GP with a deteriorating mental state leading up to the deaths, the coroner found detection of emerging psychosis would have been difficult. Coroner McTaggart says his treatment and discharge from the Launceston General Hospital was appropriate, but recommends the hospital review procedures around timely discharge documentations. Despite threatening thunderstorms, thousands of punters today flocked to the Launceston Cup, dressing up and backing winners. Organisers believe a change in time for the main race to 6:15 didn't deter crowds, and it's tipped the betting turnover will be up 10% on previous years.
Under dark rain clouds, the coloured frocks were popping.
Who dressed you today?
Nan knitted this for me.
The drinks flowing and the horses reining in the crowds.
What's so great about the Launceston Cup?
Drinking, horses, fashions.
We love coming to the Launceston Cup. This is our 20th anniversary coming here, and it's just brilliant.
We're here as a liberated front for suit colours and shapes and cuts.
In the fashions on the field, pops of purple and yellow helped a Victorian win the women's section.
It's a Nicola Finetti dress. I started with the hat, I made the hat myself, then worked way down.
While the men's winner now has a tough task deciding who will enjoy his prize trip to Phuket with him.
I come up with my old man today, but my girlfriend, my partner, she's on my case as well, so it'll be luck of the draw.
Organisers say marquee numbers were up on previous years.
I've never been to the Cup before, so my first time.
And race entries continue to grow.
This year is the first time the Launceston Cup race has ever been held later than 6 o'clock. Organisers believe it will result in a bigger financial turnover.
Last year there was a record in turnover on this meeting, about $8 million. And today I'm sure we're going to top that.
The wagering turnover at that time of night is so much greater than between 12 and 1, and that gets put back into prize money and helping out the industries.
It's unclear if the races will remain at the same time next year, but regardless, it's certain punters will still show up.
Have you come for the races or the fashion?
We've actually come for the alcohol.
Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
2 Tasmanian drivers have had a lucky escape after a car and livestock truck collided on Logan Road near Evandale this morning. The female driver of the car was taken to the Launceston General Hospital with minor injuries. The truck driver was shaken but uninjured. Sheep and 2 dogs were also in the truck, but all avoided injury. The road was blocked for several hours as livestock had to be loaded onto another truck. The West Coast community of Zeehan is rallying behind its business owners after fire destroyed 3 buildings in the town's main street overnight. West Coast Realty has been completely destroyed, while the Zeehan Rock Shop and the town's pharmacy were also damaged. The fire was first reported at around 10:15 last night. It took crews from Zeehan, Queenstown, Rosebery and Strawn around an hour to bring it under control. The blaze has been deemed suspicious and investigations are continuing. No one was injured. We return now to our coverage of the Launceston Cup, where just moments ago the $250,000 main race was run and won. We cross live to Tom Johnson, who's at the Cup. Tom, who is this year's winner?
Oh, well, Joe, it's been another tight race as always, but one of the favourites has come through with the goods. Bondiga, trained by Victorian Darren Weir, winning the main race today. And I'm joined now, representing Mr Weir, is Nigel Shuring. And Nigel, how do you feel to come away with the win today?
Oh, it was fantastic. The other horse, like Darren couldn't split both the horses. It was a brilliant ride by Regan. Snuck up all the rail and, yeah, great win.
Did you have a good feeling when you woke up this morning about today? You had a couple in it.
Oh, yeah, Darren had 2 in there. They're starting at my place. They've been working well during the last 5 days since there, and the weather gods has held off for us today, and yeah, it was just a great win.
And just finally, can you describe the feeling when they crossed the line?
Oh, it was a good feeling when they crossed the line, and it was good to have a lot of the owners here too, so to represent them, so that was good.
Fantastic, thank you, Nigel. Well, Joe, wonderful day here. The crowds have stuck around. The rain, as you mentioned, has held off, so we're going to stick around here for a little while longer and have a bit more in sport. So back to you for now.
Okay, thanks so much for that, Tom. A community transport service is expanding, opening a new centre at Sorell today. With more than 80 vehicles running across the state, the service provides low-cost trips to Tasmanians over 65 and people with a disability.
Community transport services hitting the streets of Sorell. This is one of more than 80 vehicles across the state, reaching as far down as Southport, all the way to Marrawa.
We're very excited about coming to Sorell. We know there's a tremendous demand for the service in the area, and the office here will allow us to reach more people.
Launching a new southeast office today, CTST provides low-cost transport to Tasmanians over 65 and people with a disability, opening up access to medical appointments, visits to family or friends and social outings.
People can obviously get very isolated if they're home by themselves all the time, and we're social creatures and people like to get out and have fun.
Those running the service say its biggest benefit is providing independence to its 5,000 clients, allowing people to stay living in their own homes for longer.
We know that transport is a major barrier to that, to achieving that goal of living independently, and both socially or economically, it just makes sense to keep people in their homes, in their communities.
It's run with the support of around 350 volunteers, mostly drivers.
It's quite rewarding. It's instantly rewarding because I know that I'm doing something that's very worthwhile, and I get the feedback from my passengers.
Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
The story of one of the world's most renowned opera singers is hitting the stage in Tasmania. The curtain opening tonight on Masterclass at the Theatre Royal. It stars Amanda Muggleton from the TV show Prisoner, playing the fiery Maria Callas.
It's full of beautiful music. It's very, very funny. And if I'm doing my job right, I should have you laughing 1 minute and crying the next, which I think is the best kind of theatre.
Muggleton has scored the Helpman's Best Actress Award for her performance in the role. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed lower, ending a 5-day winning streak as the possibility of accelerated interest rate hikes in the US again spooked investors. And market heavyweight Telstra traded ex-dividend. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 40.9 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 77.89 US cents and 83.45 Japanese yen.
After 4 years in the top job, Football Federation Tasmania CEO Mike Palmer has called it quits to pursue new opportunities interstate. The hunt is now on for his replacement as the bid for a Tasmanian A-League side continues to gather momentum.
Taking up a new CEO role with Southern Football Victoria, Palmer says he leaves the state with no regrets.
The thing I'm happiest about is really putting the focus back onto the clubs. We took all the player development and put it back into the clubs where it belonged to create a proper pathway.
One dream as CEO that Palmer won't see become reality is Tasmania granted its own A-League team.
I still think it'll be difficult. There's that inherent bias from Melbourne and Sydney that why would we have a sporting team in Tasmania? But I think we can overcome that.
But as former Forestry Tasmania Commissioner Bob Gordon steps up as the new FFT president, he says he's committed to seeing it through.
We've got a long history of having a very strong competition down here. The people behind the A-League bid are serious players who've been involved before. If it was my money, I'd be building a stadium with probably minimum 10,000-15,000 capacity.
Gordon's more immediate ambition is to help FFT in its nationwide search to find Palmer's replacement, one just as passionate about giving Tasmania its first fully professional football team.
Some people need to make some big commitments and have a bit of a vision about where we want to go with the sport.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty exciting future here. I think the next 3 or 4 years there'll be a lot of interesting things happening.
As we heard earlier, Bondega has taken out the 2018 Launceston Cup a short time ago, with the 6-year-old holding on in the home stretch to claim the $250,000 race.
Wide. Bondega up along the rails has grabbed the lead in the cup. Bondega beat Fastnet Dragon. Bondega first. Fastnet Dragon.
The Darren Weir trained horse paying $6.70 for the win, with Fastnet Dragon and Pretty Punk in second and third. Earlier favourite Hell of a Street made easy work of the field in the 1600 metre Mowbray Stakes.
Just stepped the pedal running on, but it's Hell of a Street down to the 100. It's well clear. It's a minute in front. Hell of a Street is going to win easily. Step the pedal, getting into
Scott Brunton trained gelding paid $1.40 for the win, beating out Step the Pedal and Royal Rapture. Tasmania's Ariane Titmus is shaping up as a genuine medal contender for April's Games, qualifying fastest for tonight's 200 metre women's freestyle final with an impressive heat win over rivals Emma McKean and Michaela Sheridan this morning. Kate Campbell led for the first half of the race before Titmus closed the gap to finish in a time of just under 1 minute and 57 seconds. To cricket, and the Tasmanian Tigers will treat their last 2 Sheffield Shield games as must-wins following the side's draw with New South Wales. The Tigers sit third on the Shield ladder with only points separating them from the Blues, with Western and South Australia just 1 win behind.
These 2 games are going to be massive for us, especially to try and get into our first final in a few years.
Webster started at the top order for the visitors, notching up 136 runs off 354 deliveries.
Yeah, it was nice. It's been a while in between drinks. Obviously got one last year quite early in the season, and the Duke ball sort of did me over in the back end of the season, so it's nice to get one against the Duke ball, yeah.
The Tigers finished the season with 2 home games against South Australia and Victoria.
Good evening. A mid-level cloud band crossed Tasmania today, bringing thunderstorms and rainfall. Hobart reached a top of 25 degrees. It was 26 in Launceston, 23 in Devonport and 21 in Burnie. Around the state today, temperatures were generally a few degrees above average, with the state's high of 28 degrees recorded on Flinders Island. Maria Island and St Helens both reached a top of 24. It was 21 at Wynyard, Low Head, Grove and Strawn, and 19 at Lyoini. Taking a look at the satellite, we can see that low pressure system crossing the state, and there was some low-level stratiform cloud sitting in the Bight. Closer in, there's that line of thunderstorms in the northwest moving towards the south. Tomorrow the chart shows a high-pressure ridge moving over Tasmania, and the north of the mainland remains dominated by surface troughs. Winds southwesterly 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 in the north and east, swells 2 to 3 metres in western and southern waters. And there is a strong wind warning for northern, eastern and southeastern coastal waters from Sandy Cape to Southeast Cape, and that does include Storm Bay. Now let's take a closer look in around the state. Showers for Hobart tomorrow, 18 degrees. Cygnet 19, 20 the top for New Norfolk. Launceston, a partly cloudy 23, partly cloudy for Devonport 22, Campbelltown cloudy and 21. A mostly sunny day for Burnie, 21 the top, Strawn showers 16, Smithton 20. St Helens, a possible shower, 21 degrees, 20 for Swansea, Fingal, 21. UV, high to very high. Looking ahead to Friday now, a fine day, apart from some possible morning showers about the south and east coasts. Showers in the west and south on Saturday, but fine elsewhere. And Sunday, more showers about the west and south, easing through the afternoon. A sunny day for Perth tomorrow, 32 degrees. Adelaide, partly cloudy and 28. Sydney, mostly sunny, 26. 29 and sunny for Canberra. And a possible early shower with a top of 21 for Melbourne. And taking a look at the current conditions around the state, Hobart 17 degrees and mostly cloudy, Launceston and Devonport both 19 and cloudy as well. And that's all for tonight's weather. Thanks, Jo.
Britt, thank you so much. And that's all from the team for now. We'll see you with updates a little later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, boss. Thank you.